Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our general membership meeting for June. My name is Kevin Lee. I use they and he pronouns, and I'm the new senior program manager here at the Coalition. We have with us Allison Eisinger, our executive director, Hallie Willis, our community policy manager, Danielle Palmer-Friedman, our communications lead, and Noah Gucher, our operations and systems manager, is here in the building. And of course, we're very happy to have you with us today. The Coalition is a member-based organization, and this meeting, of course, is meant to bring people together at service providers, community, government partners, and allies alike. We come together every month in the spirit of building community, exchanging important information, timely information, offering professional development skills and resources, and last but not least, working together and creating a sense of solidarity amongst ourselves. So we are really glad you're here with us today. If we could get the slideshow going, our slideshow will have our agenda, but also one of the slides is the what we do slide. We have a beautiful slide that goes into a little more detail about what we do, who we are, and I will encourage you all to take a look in just a little bit here. Like I mentioned at the start, we are recording this meeting. It will live in our YouTube channel, in our YouTube channel in space forever. So if I could have somebody also drop our YouTube channel link into the chat. We record all these meetings and all of our trainings. There's a wealth of information in there for folks, and so we really encourage you to subscribe to that channel. Speaking of trainings, in our announcements shortly, we will be going over some of our upcoming trainings. Yes, so we have our slideshow up, and then in the chat is our YouTube channel link. If we could move on to the second page of the slideshow, just to go to the What We Do slide. Yes, I encourage you all to take a look. We love to see faces, so if you're in a place where you're able to put your cameras on, I already see a number of cameras on. We love to see faces. Of course, I always say you can turn it on, you can turn it back off if you need to, and then turn it back on again. Yeah, we really appreciate having you with us today. You can also change your name in the for Zoom. So just click on the ellipses, the three little dots, and you can adjust your name so that way you can see who you are, where you're from, and of course your pronouns and everything else. If you're with the media today, we really just ask that you quote and pull from either Coalition staff or our official presenters. If there's someone else that you're hoping to connect with, please reach out to contact@homelessinfo.org, and we will connect you with that agency for follow-up. And then going back to the agenda slide, if someone could put a link for our email sign up list into the chat. Of course, many of you already have that, but as we know, Zoom links get shared with folks, and we want people to have direct access, or you can just share that link with the rest of your colleagues and communities. And let's take a look at our agenda. So we are really excited. We've got a wonderful agenda today. We have some amazing guest presenters. Troy Burgess from DSHS is the Summer EBT Program Manager, and he is here to give us everything we need to know to help families accessing summer EBT or Sunbucks. We also have Claire Lane, Director of the Anti-Hunger and Nutrition Coalition, to give us some more pertinent updates on the possible changing landscape of food resources and accessibility. And she will also share an action for us to take, as we are still in a position to advocate for maintaining access to vital resources. We will then hear from Hallie Willis, our community policy manager, regarding some federal advocacy. As you know, there's many important things for us to take action on. And then we'll get a chance to meet some of our new board members. And then to close, as always, we will have space for our member announcements. We will invite you to share what you have going on in your world and with us and everyone else here. But also for this month, during your member announcements portion, we will invite members to share what your organizations are doing for Pride and Juneteenth. So if your organization, program, or community are honoring, hosting, or taking part in activities or events honoring the history of Pride Month or Juneteenth, we will invite you to share with the group those announcements as well. And let's see, switching gears back to our agenda, I would like to ask somebody to volunteer to read our mission, vision, and values.
I can do that.
Oh, thank you, Tricia. Go ahead.
All right, mission. We mobilize our community to challenge systemic causes of homelessness and advocate for housing justice. Vision, a region that acts on a shared sense of responsibility to ensure that everyone has a home. And values are equity, justice, and collective action.
Thank you, Tricia. This is a longstanding tradition of the Coalition to read out our mission, vision, and values, as this is the work that we all do and put into action. So on that note, I will move us forward with announcements. Our first announcement is about our Project Cool backpack program for children experiencing homelessness, and I am delighted to welcome Allison Eisinger, our executive director, to speak on this year's Project Cool before I provide some more details on how to get involved. So Allison, when you're ready.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. We're so happy to see you here this morning. It's always a wonderful thing to see as many faces as possible. We understand not everyone is a morning camera on person, but we like to say here there's no such thing as a bad hair day at the Coalition on Homelessness. You're among friends and allies. And thank you so much to everyone who is joining this morning. As you can see from the agenda Kevin just shared, we have a wealth of information, particularly for folks who are working with families with kids and addressing issues of food security, making sure that everyone in our community has enough to eat and doesn't have to struggle to get their nutritional needs met. And at the same time, we know there are lots of other folks, single adults, seniors, and others who will also benefit from this information. I want to specifically note that we are doing this partly because it's summer and the Sunbucks program is upon us, but also because, as I think everyone here understands, the attacks from the federal government on our core programs, including SNAP and EBT, are significant and worsening. So, as is always our hope, we are sharing information and taking action together. Collective action, as Tricia just read for you, is one of our core values. And similarly, I want to just talk a little bit about Project Cool. Project Cool has been going on for over 30 years before I came to the Coalition. And it is a program that we think of as backpacks and school supplies for kids experiencing homelessness, but it is much more than that. One of the things that the pandemic forced us to do, as you all know, is to change how we do things to keep each other safe. So Project Cool went from being this amazing community-powered experience of well over 100, 150 volunteers showing up, sorting supplies, filling backpacks for little kids, for elementary school kids, for high school kids, and then helping staff at our member agencies distribute those backpacks to hundreds of kids before the start of the school year. Well, we had to pivot during the pandemic, and we thought about maybe we can't do Project Cool. And what we heard from our members and the folks they serve is, oh, hell no, we can't. We can't stop doing that. Parents and kids really rely on this program, but also it brings a lot of joy to a lot of people to help make sure that kids are starting the school year right. So we found ways, we adapted, but they were much less community centered. I'm thrilled that this year we're back. We're back to with enormous support from Kevin and Noah and community volunteers, including some of you on the call today. We are bringing volunteers together in July to help us sort and fill and distribute backpacks to a record number. I believe we're at 1,804 children from kindergarten through high school. Thanks to Scholastic, we have wonderful multicultural books. We have dental hygiene kits that have been donated by a dental group, and we are welcoming donations to help make sure that we're buying good quality materials and putting them into brand new sturdy backpacks. So there's a lot of work that goes into this, but it is a joyful kind of work. And it's the kind of work that helps people who might not think of themselves as advocates for things like preventing cuts to SNAP or protecting housing vouchers to get drawn in to the world of advocacy and taking action. So we're really thrilled that this is another way for us to improve upon, I would say, what the project has always been. And we know it's going to be perhaps a little bumpy. We haven't done it in person this way for 5 years. We have a wonderful partner host congregation that has allowed us free storage space, and we're going to be filling the backpacks at that South Seattle congregation location. They are also stepping up to meet the need, and they are also providing temporary shelter for some refugee families who have nowhere else to stay. So we are working in partnership with you all, with the folks whom you serve, and with our community. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to ask you, those of you who are helping to distribute, to show up on particular days. And then Kevin's going to talk a little bit about the volunteer opportunities that we have so you can spread the word. It's really a fun thing to do for, let's say, 3 hours on a summer weekday or weekend. And we thank you all so much for being part of making sure that kids and families not only have what they need to start school right, but that they have hundreds more people advocating and speaking up for their food security, housing security, and dignity, especially while we know all of those things are under attack. I think that's my little spiel. I keep on wanting to find like a perfect summary phrase, but I just think we're back to filling the backpacks in person and also making sure that this is going beyond the backpacks. So thank you very much. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison. Yes, so let's get some more information about how to get involved with Project Cool. I believe Hallie will drop the link in just a moment, but I want to put in the schedule. So we're very happy to have finalized. So go ahead and open the chat or take a look. We're very happy to have finalized our volunteer dates. Most of our work getting these backpacks ready is going to be happening in that last full week of July. There's going to be 2 shifts per day. So if this is a good opportunity for you or your team or your community, or again, just sending this information and this sign up link far and wide to your people and communities. Yes, so 2 shifts per day. As you look, there is 1 weekend opportunity. We wanted to make sure that a lot of folks are really only available then. Most of the days are available, are open to children of all ages. We just ask that there's 1 adult for every 3 children. What I call the bookend days, that first day and the final 2, are really the only days where there's like heavy lifting involved. And so just kind of keeping those things in mind. Again, this is a family-friendly event. So when it comes to those backpack stuffing days, please know that your children are welcome. And then let's see here. Yes, the link is also there. So the sign up link is there. Please take a look, bookmark it, save it. Also reach out to us if you need that link later. We are very excited to see more of you this year and very excited to go back to how Project Cool used to be. The next announcement that we have, there's a few here that I'm going to try to get through pretty quickly. Our voting rights and registration drives are coming back. Of course, we have a primary coming up at the end of the summer and general election in the fall. And so we are, of course, looking for volunteers. This is a little bit different from some of our other volunteer opportunities where this work involves being engaged in conversation. And so it's really important that, we need to make sure that our volunteers have been trained. So we have a couple of training days coming up for new volunteers who are interested in doing voter registration, and we'll have those in the chat here in just a moment. The first one is coming up pretty soon. It's June 26th at the Beacon Hill Public Library. It's in the evening, although the sun won't be down by then, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Yes, the link is right there in the chat. And then the next one is a couple weeks after, on Tuesday, July 8th, same time, but at the Burien Public Library. So if either of those locations are right for you, or you work and have communities in those areas, please hold on to these links. We would love to see new and more voter registration and voter education volunteers. I said I was going to be quick. So our next announcement is our going into our training. So our next training on the calendar is our Helping Homeless Students. It's our McKinney-Vento training. We have, of course, our amazing partner and presenter from Building Changes, but also some McKinney-Vento liaisons as well. It's really intended for you as service providers or folks who work with service providers to be able to get some of those advocacy tips and really learn how to work and get the most out of those liaisons. And I will go ahead and drop that link. Yes, we have a question from Amy. Just 1 second, Amy. I want to make sure people know the date. Thursday, August 21st. And the time has officially been shifted to 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Yes, Amy, would you like to come off mute? I want to remind you that this is being recorded, so if you don't want to be on the recording, you can absolutely ask the question in the chat.
Yes, no, thank you so much. I am just wondering, I'm Amy Bailey. I'm the chair of the Housing and Homelessness Task Force with Seattle Human Rights Commission, and also have connections with universities around. And I'm wondering, the working with homeless students, does that include homeless college students, or is it focused on K-12?
No, it's focused on K-12, and it's mainly because this is it's a McKinney-Vento training, if that makes sense. And so most of the content is going to be around accessing McKinney-Vento and then also working with those liaisons as well. That said, Amy, let's stay in touch because, of course, we've done some programming in the past as far as college students experiencing homelessness, and plan to and would like to do more.
Thank you.
Going back to our announcements, our EBD HEN training has been rescheduled. It was scheduled for Wednesday, July 30th, 9 a.m. to 11. It has been officially rescheduled to September 10th, same time, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. If you've already registered, don't worry. We'll be reaching out to everyone who has already registered, providing that information. But yes, we'll also put that link in the chat. So again, that's our ABD HEN training. This is our only ABD HEN training of the year. So please mark your calendars if you can't make it, but potentially a colleague or coworker can. Yes, absolutely send them. And I believe that might be it for member announcements. Or excuse me, that might be it for our announcements. We'll do member announcements later. But with that, let's try to stay on schedule and move on to our first presenter. Troy Burgess is here from DSHS. Like I mentioned, he is the Summer EBT Program Manager. I know we'll be having some presentation slides up in just a little bit here. Oh, I will say, I will direct your attention to the chat one more time. We have all of our links there. Oh, I see Troy on camera. Good morning, Troy. When you're ready, please go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Happy to be here today. And my presentation should pop up in a second. All right, and let me just make sure I have the chat up just in case. All right, good morning, everybody. Again, very happy to be here today. Happy Thursday. So my name is Troy Burgess. I am from the Department of Social and Health Services. And as Kevin said, I am a program manager that's helping oversee the Summer Electronic Benefits Transfer Program, Summer EBT. I have been with DSHS for about 13 years and have worked in eligibility, TANF, family case management, and have moved over to program oversight the last several years. So love this work, love supporting communities and families in poverty. So Happy to be here today again, talk just a little bit about Sunbucks and provide some good information to everyone. So next slide, please. All right, let's jump right in. So what is Sunbucks? So I did mention earlier, Summer Electronic Benefits Transfer Program. So Summer EBT and Sunbucks are the same thing. So Sunbucks is the public name for Summer EBT. Sunbucks provides $120 in additional food benefits to families, particularly children who lack summer meals during, who lack meals during the summer period when school is out of session. This is an additional benefit to the SNAP food stamps and is a separate benefit on a separate card, which I'll explain a little bit more shortly. And this is a brand new program, permanent, that was authorized by the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023. Sunbucks is based on prior summer nutrition demonstration projects going back to 2011 and pandemic EBT, which there is some familiarity with how we operated PEBT going into Sunbucks, but they are two separate, distinct programs. One note about PEBT is that it did end in 2023 with the public health emergency declaration expiration. And so the summer nutrition projects and PEBT really showcase the importance of providing nutrition assistance to children during the summer period when school is out of session. So it's great to see that expanded programming was announced by USDA back in 2023. So Sunbucks is administered by DSHS as the SNAP agency. However, we do partner with the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, who helps guide National School Lunch, School Breakfast program participating schools across the state. So Sunbucks is a collaborative effort by a couple of different agencies. And next slide, please. So just a quick snapshot of Sunbucks for 2024. So we are officially in the second year of the program. We just launched last week for 2025, but it is important to show what Sunbucks has, how has Sunbucks served children in the first year. So for 2024, we issued 71 million to 597,000 children. And the majority of the children that received Sunbucks were automatically approved, which I'll share a little bit of details about. We had roughly around 4,600 children approved by application, but the majority were approved using eligibility data between DSHS and participating schools. And then the initial of the initial issuances sent last June, 75% of the children who qualified received benefits right away. It is important to note that Sunbucks is provided during the summer months only, and it was vital for us to get these benefits out to families as soon as possible. So we're very happy with these statistics and the timeliness, just given that it was a brand new program that we uplifted in weeks. So big shout out to all those who helped support this program from agency level up to our leadership in the governor's office and so forth. And next slide, please. All right, just a little bit of overview of the eligibility. So this slide and the next slide, we'll talk between automatic approval and the application. So for this slide, this is regarding automatic approval. So there's two ways children can become automatically eligible. So the first being what we call Streamlined Certified. So any child who is enrolled in a school that participates in the National School Lunch Program and is individually approved for free or reduced price meals. So this may include, so there's multiple ways children can qualify for free or reduced lunch. Particularly, there's direct certification depending on different criteria, or families can fill out a what they call the Child Nutrition Education Benefit Application. It's essentially an income application to confirm income eligibility. This will vary at the different schools across the state, but it's important that children must confirm income eligibility, as this does not include the schools that are community eligibility provision. Another way children can become automatically eligible is if they are ages 8 through 18 and are receiving either SNAP or TANF. So Sunbucks is a child nutrition program. So it does follow regulations for the National School Lunch Program, but USDA developed rules to also have to also qualify those receiving public assistance programming, because they are means tested programs that confirm income eligibility. Participation in SNAP and TANF does qualify them as well. And next slide, please. So for the next way that children can qualify is in Sunbucks application. This is a screenshot of the online application portal. However, families can apply by paper by visiting the DSHS Sunbucks website. There's a paper application form that they can print, download, and mail directly to DSHS, where we will address the application. One thing about age requirements, I know on the previous slide I mentioned ages 8 through 18. We've had a lot of questions about the age requirements and why it's 8 through 18. Although states have a lot of discretion on how they operate Sunbucks, we do follow federal regulations, which are still in an interim final rule phase. We submitted comments last year along with many other states and advocates and agencies, but the rules have not been finalized yet. But USDA guides that we have to follow specific age requirements for education. However, the application does not have an age requirement. So if there's children who are ages 5 to 6, or even in special needs programs and over 18 through 21 or 22, they could potentially qualify by application. The important piece is to know that families must be income eligible, which is 185% of the poverty level, and enrolled in a school that participates in the National School Lunch Program. And when families do apply, we do work with OSPI and our third-party contractor to validate all the information that is cross-checked at the school level. And next slide, please. So redeeming Sunbucks. This is what you see on the screen is a mock-up, but I actually will post a screenshot of the card as well. So Sunbucks is an EBT card in the same manner as a SNAP EBT card. Sunbucks can be utilized at any SNAP participating retailer. And because we are in this, as said before, we are in the second year of Sunbucks. So families who qualified for Sunbucks in 2024 and have kept their card will have benefits reloaded. Newly eligible children will have a card mailed directly to them. And then if families have lost their card from last year, they can request a replacement directly by calling the Sunbucks Contact Center. It is important to note that the DSHS Customer Service Contact Center is separate. We want to make sure that the Sunbucks families do call the Sunbucks Contact Center, as all aspects of the program are separate, including eligibility information. So you'll see that number on all sorts of communication material that we have created. One quick caveat, Haley, if I could go back to the previous slide, I apologize. So one thing I wanted to mention, there has also been questions about citizenship requirements for Sunbucks. So there are no specific, so again, I mentioned that Sunbucks follows the National School Lunch Program guidelines, so there are no specific citizenship requirements. So when it comes to application, we just need to confirm income eligibility and that a child is enrolled in a National School Lunch participating school. So there are no specific citizenship requirements, whether they are asylum seekers or legal immigrants or undocumented, as long as they meet those two metrics. Now on the SNAP and TANF side for automatic approval, of course, these are federal programs, so they do have their own specific citizenship requirements. But in Washington State, we specifically administer 2 state-funded components of SNAP and TANF. These may seem familiar to you as the state-funded food assistance program and the state-funded cash assistance. They're very similar to SNAP and TANF with the exception of citizenship requirements for legal immigrants. So unfortunately, we weren't able to add those 2 programs to the automatic approval this year, but we are encouraging families of those 2 specific programs to apply and address benefits there. So thank you, Haley. Next slide. All right. So with proactive communications, we do have additional service that that families have found incredibly useful, and we actually started this service back in our pandemic EBT days. So you can use this QR code to take you to the web opt-in form. This is the Text Sunbucks DSHS website. So families can sign up for text message updates that's connected directly to their benefits. We use this service to help send direct reminders. Some families should have received texts by now to let them know if their family or if their children's are eligible this year and if they received Sunbucks last year. This is a free, completely optional service. Families can opt in and opt out at any time. It also provides great information about benefit usage, can connect to support with the contact center, and helps them remind to use their benefits. I didn't share from the last slide that the Sunbucks benefits do expire within 122 days, which is very different than SNAP expiration rules. This is a federal rule. Unfortunately, it is a lot shorter than SNAP. So it's important that families access benefits, and we do send reminders and clear communication so families can get those benefits. And so having a text message service is, again, incredibly helpful to keep families up to date in real time, because it will take time to get benefits out to families across the state. We are estimating around 620,000 children this year to be eligible. So having this service, again, will be a useful tool. And next slide, please. All right, just a quick snapshot of the communication that we've developed to help for the launch of Sunbucks 2025. You'll see some screenshots here just on a few different pieces that I'd like to share. However, I will provide some links in the chat, which will have some other great material. So we have developed a number of pieces that are now live and can be utilized across the board. So a flyer that's available in English and Spanish. The English counterpart is the top left. The postcard that you see on the bottom left is available in 5 different languages and is being sent out to families directly, just to help them become aware of the launch of Sunbucks. And on the back of the postcard is a picture of the card and a QR code directly to the DSHS website for more information. We have made updates. So top right is the DSHS main Sunbucks website. This is regularly updated and has links to everything, information on the program. We have shared updates on social media, particularly Facebook and Twitter or X. Helped create posters for schools, school and DSHS staff support, memos and talking points. Between DSHS and OSPI, we've created press releases to share information on the launch. This has been shared with news outlets as well. And then lastly, an external and tribal partners letter to inform our valuable partners of the program and how they can help share information. At the bottom of the DSHS website, again, screenshotted to the bottom right, these are links to a lot of the resources that are accessible right away. You can check the DSHS website, scroll to the bottom, and download a lot of these communication materials. And we did partner with United Way to develop a lot of these materials, including the posters. And there is meal finders that they can also access on their website too. And next slide, please. All right, so that's it for me today. If you have any specific questions about Sunbucks, feel free to email me. I know there's a lot to take in with the program as it is fairly nuanced, but I'm happy to provide some insight or guidance if you have specific questions. But just in closing, it is important to share as much information as you can to families to make them aware of Sunbucks, and please provide any of the resources that I'm sharing today. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Troy. So we do, if people have questions, we do have a couple minutes if you want to go ahead and put that in the chat. I'm just going to kind of just want to cover or highlight a couple things. Again, if you have questions, you can put that in the chat, but just kind of really touching on an important piece here. Folks are eligible, but they don't have to demonstrate legal status and they don't have to be citizens. SNAP and TANF have citizenship requirements, but Washington State has funded this this program. So, or moreover, because of the state funding, people are eligible. Families really need to make sure to use their Sunbucks within those 122 days. It can be expunged. Let's see here. There's that phone number, Troy. I don't know if that was, if you have that handy, maybe we can put that in the chat. But it's really important to know that there's a whole separate number to be able to call if you have questions about Sunbucks. You don't have to wait in the main queue, because we know that can take some time sometimes. Yes, and then thank you, Allison. In the chat, there's some additional information. There's an estimation about 620,000 children in Washington are eligible. And yes, let's go ahead and move forward. We have Claire Lane as our next presenter. She'll be with us for about 10-15 minutes. I know we're trying to make sure we stay on schedule here. But Claire, I see.
think, Kevin, before we jump to Claire, I see there's just a couple questions in the chat. Maybe if we could just take a couple minutes to get some questions to Troy. There's one from Claire about how long will it take for families to get a replacement card if they don't have last year's Sunbucks card?
Yeah, great question. So it's we communicate that it'll take about 7 to 10 days for them to get their card. This process mirrors SNAP card replacements. So we do utilize the same EBT vendor, FIS. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Hallie, did you see anything else in the chat? Another question?
I saw a request to go back to a slide, and we're going to share the slide deck out in an email after this meeting, so you'll have that for your reference. Troy, we also talked about there was a group of folks that were automatically eligible last year that are not this year, and they may have to apply. Can you talk about that a little bit more and how people should, make sure that their clients are getting access?
Yeah, so the two groups are part of this. So I mentioned a little briefly earlier, it's the food assistance, state-funded food assistance and cash assistance programs. And I see Allison put a little bit of mention here about how these programs were created several years ago. So they are state-funded counterparts to the federal programs. They in essence, the rules mirrors their SNAP and TANF counterparts with the exception of legal immigration. And so Washington does fund these programs' benefits. So they are given to families who otherwise wouldn't meet the federal citizenship requirements. So the first year of Sunbucks, because of a lot of flexibility is in place, we were able to include FAP. So the acronyms FAP and SFA were included in the automatic approval group. And so as we worked on our state plan for 2025, we replicated that process and submitted our proposal to USDA. And they unfortunately would not approve our state plan with those two groups in. And so we, of course, advocated as much as we could to include those two groups, just for many, many reasons, but of course, equity being one of the biggest focal points. Regulation, I'll be quick about this, but regulation does say that the USDA can approve or deny means tested programs. Unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot of information as to why they didn't approve those two programs. But I can I can have some assumptions based on the landscape out there. But yeah, so these families are encouraged to apply, as I mentioned during the presentation. So we are doing some outreach efforts to these families to encourage them to apply. And again, if they are income eligible and with children who are enrolled in national school lunch participating schools, they could still qualify for Sunbucks. But unfortunately, they are not automatically eligible. But one quick thing to add, Sunbucks is not, there is no public charge for Sunbucks. And I know there's a lot of concern with getting these benefits, but this is not a thing with Sunbucks. There's no citizenship reporting, any of that. So.
Thanks, Troy. That's super helpful. I'll let Kevin introduce Claire next. And I might ask folks to hop in the chat. Troy, I don't know if you're able to stay on for a few minutes and address questions in the chat, if that's okay.
Sure can. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Troy, and thank you, Hallie. Yeah, just I can only see one, but maybe a couple of questions in the chat. But yes, like I mentioned, we have Claire Lane here today. Claire, when you're ready, go ahead and come off mute and take it away.
And I think you have my slides. Hi, folks. I'm Claire Lane. I'm the director of the Anti-Hunger Nutrition Coalition. And I just want to say thank you so much, Troy, for that. Sunbucks has been a huge, huge, complicated lift for states. And I'm just super grateful for everything that DSHS has done, and partnering with OSPI and school districts is just like 9 other levels of complication for verification. And I just brag all the time about how great our first year's rollout went. And I'm super excited that families are going to start getting money right, this month. So also I just added a whole lot of stuff in the chat because I've been working on Sunbucks for a long time too. Today, I am going to be talking about a quick budget wrap up, and then what's going on in DC. And we got news just last night about the Senate in terms of cuts to SNAP. Obviously, there's cuts to many, many other things, but SNAP is what my universe looks like. So let's talk super quickly about Olympia. So our anti-hunger priorities in the final budget, y'all, I've been saying to my colleagues that I feel sort of guilty that for all intents and purposes, almost all our agenda got fully funded. But I just think, in the context where there were massive cuts, and I think 7 billion is about the right number. I may have been off, but I'm doing a lot of federal stuff too. But I think it's a sign of just how concerned our legislature is and our state agencies about what is coming and the food insecurity crisis we're having right now, and the big threats to some of the biggest programs from Congress. So in the final budget, there was significant funding for food banks. You guys have probably heard there's been a million stories. The need right now in food banks are higher than it was ever during the peak of the pandemic by like exponential numbers. So we are very grateful for the Department of Ag for asking for that money and partnering with us in that ask. We also partnered for the the third time in a couple of years for funding through DSHS for the senior nutrition programs. That was not fully funded for what we're asking, but pretty much. There is, some of you may know, there are wait lists for things like home delivery for seniors. So this is money that goes to the local area agencies on aging in every county across the state. So it's hot meals at senior centers, Meals on Wheels, grocery delivery, meal delivery, that kind of funding. Department of Health, this is where we didn't get quite what we need. The Fruit and Vegetable Incentive Program, right? So in Seattle, it's the sort of foundational funding for FreshBucks. It's the SNAP Match program at grocery stores and at farmers markets. When you use your SNAP benefits and you buy produce, you get some of that, up to a certain amount of that money matched to buy more produce. It's wildly successful and hugely important because it's how we stretch SNAP purchasing power, which we know is already limited. And then finally, you heard about Sunbucks. That final budget included money. This is important for later. The way Sunbucks works is the way SNAP works now. The states and the feds have a cost share for the administrative costs of the program, and then the federal government pays 100% of the actual food benefits that families get. So we needed funding at the state level for that administrative costs, and the legislature fully funded it. So thank your legislators, and some of our King County ones were super instrumental in all of this. I can't thank Rep. Gregerson in particular enough. She was great in the budget process. So that's the good news. This is the not good news. So budget reconciliation, I think folks may know, it is different than a normal budget process. And this is important because in a normal budget process, right, y'all know the Senate has a filibuster, which requires, to overcome a filibuster, it requires a 2/3 vote. So in the Senate, typically it has to be a bipartisan vote because you need Democrats to get to 2/3. Budget reconciliation bypasses that. So it requires in the House and Senate a simple majority. And this is how Congress is pushing through things that would never, ever, 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 ever pass a bipartisan vote. The House passed their budget proposal a few weeks ago. The Senate is now considering their budget proposal. And we just got bill language last night on the cuts to SNAP. So the House cut $290 billion out of SNAP. It was $60 billion more than the House Ag Committee was instructed to cut. For the record, Congressman Newhouse in Central Washington is a member of that committee and has the highest caseload of both SNAP and Medicaid in the state. Part of those cuts, a big part of those cuts, come from increasing restrictions on eligibility for SNAP based on employment. So this is for ABODs, those able-bodied adults without dependents, who are required to document an average of 20 hours of work every week. And if they can't document that, they are limited to only 3 months of food stamps every 3 years. So that work requirement, that time limit based on employment, they are now rolling back categories of exemptions that we have had, some that was just negotiated a few years ago, and some that have been in place for a very long time. So it rolls back exemptions for people who are homeless, veterans, former foster youth up to age 25, and people in areas where there's a high unemployment rate. In Washington, the way that unemployment rate, it has to be higher than a certain amount of whatever. That has waived the work requirement for most of our state. King County doesn't pretty much ever meet that requirement, but almost the rest of our state always does. And that provision would be repealed. It also extends those same restrictions up to people up to 65 years old. Currently, you're subject to those work requirements only up to age 55. As if there's no age discrimination in employment for everyone, let alone people with significant barriers to work. And for the first time ever, those employment restrictions would be imposed on parents with kids over age 7. So literally for the first time in federal law, it would define a dependent in a family as like a 9-year-old. It's just crazy. The Senate does almost all those same things, except for instead of cutting off the kids at age 7, the Senate version cuts it off at age 9. So now apparently if you're 10, according to the Senate, you are no longer a dependent of your parents. Next slide. Because it does more bad things. It also, as Troy was just talking about in our state, it would prohibit eligibility for SNAP for any legally residing immigrants, except for those who are US citizens or green card holders. So refugees, asylees, they're basically saying, unless you have a green card or you're a citizen, you cannot qualify for SNAP, even if you're here legally. And it prohibits SNAP benefits to increase beyond the simple inflation. I'm not going to get into the thrifty food plan, but let's just say it basically limits the ability for SNAP benefits to go up more than simple inflation. But the biggest threat and the most significant cost is it would shift significant burdens that currently the feds pay for to states. So that administrative 50-50 cost share would actually change and require the state to pay 75% of the administrative costs, not 50%. And the House version says it would make states pay at least 5% of food benefit costs and as much as 25%. And DSHS's estimate is this would have cost up to $500 million last year alone for Washington. And as y'all know, we do not have $500 million sitting around the couch cushions. The Senate version does most of these same things. It's a little different on sort of it doesn't go as high as 25%, but it also shifts that federal food benefit. So again, these are the proposals that passed the House, and a significant version of all of this is what is now in front of the Senate. So, the next slide. This is what we can do. Light up the phones. Y'all light up the phones. Even for Senator Murray and Senator Cantwell, who are hugely supportive. Senator Murray held an event about 2 weeks ago highlighting these potential cuts. She's organizing another event tomorrow for people who have who are eligible for SNAP right now, who receive SNAP right now. Senator Cantwell was trying to organize an event and had to get canceled because of votes in DC. They've been huge supporters. And if you have followed Patty Murray online, she is on fire about SNAP. But what they need is you need to call their offices, and here's the Capitol switchboard, and I can put it in the chat in a minute. They need to hear the stories. This is what they do on the floor. This is what they're talking about with their colleagues. They need to hear how critical it is that homeless people who struggle to find a place to sleep at night, let alone a job, they need to be able to have food. I keep saying none of these changes help people get jobs, but making people hungry makes it harder to get and keep a job. Thank you, Kevin, for the switchboard number. The change in the cost to states just hugely puts at risk eligibility for SNAP in the long run, because states, there's no provisions that spells out how states can handle this if they don't have the money for it. If we pass a budget and suddenly there's a recession or, I don't know, a global pandemic, and we haven't budgeted adequately, there's no provision in this on how to give states guidance, how to handle things. And what we're hearing from some states already is that they would basically be limiting eligibility, cutting benefit levels, doing all the things that they could to limit the state's costs. So light up the phones with support for Senator Murray and Senator Cantwell. And frankly, our representatives need to hear from you too, because though the House voted on this, the Senate bill is going to be different. And if you remember Schoolhouse Rock, if the House votes for a bill and the Senate changes it, it goes back to the House for approval. And so our House members also need to hear how terrible the House version was and how the Senate version is just about as terrible, and that certainly Seattle, King County's representatives all voted for it. Unlike often, I am telling y'all, call our Republicans. If you call the Capitol switchboard, don't send an email because you have to go through a screening and prove you're a resident. Call the Capitol switchboard. They will link you to the office. Call Newhouse and Baumgartner's office and tell them this is bad for Washington. It's bad for our state budget. It's bad for hungry people. And it's not doing anything for waste, fraud, and abuse, which is what they're talking about. and is not doing anything to help people get jobs because they are also cutting workforce development. So there's my big advocacy pitch, because we still have time to make a difference. This is not over, so we have to really make noise. Questions about any of that?
Claire, thank you so much. I love how you wrap that up by really emphasizing this is not over yet. I hear there's a lot of confusion. People are coming to me asking, how are homelessness services being affected by the cuts? And I'm like, well, the cuts haven't really happened yet for the most part. And so we have a really sort of special window right now where we still can influence what happens. And that window is getting smaller and smaller every day. They're trying to push this through really, really fast. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and take these slides down and would love to open it up for questions for Claire. Okay.
Okay, maybe I was super clear or you're freaked out.
Yeah, Claire, maybe can you, because you shared a lot of really helpful information about sort of the specifics of work requirements, but maybe if you could give folks like a top line summary of like what would happen on the ground in real life to people if these cuts actually were made.
Top line is way fewer people would be eligible for SNAP. Those ABODs, those able-bodied adults without dependents, except for they now have dependents, they would be eligible, again, if your circumstances change and you do work, but without a change in circumstance, if you cannot document an average of 20 hours a week, every week, year-round, they would be eligible for SNAP for only 3 months every 3 years. I mean, these are, right? We're talking about parents with kids. We're talking about homeless people. We're talking about veterans. We're talking about older adults who face significant barriers to work just based on age, let alone all the other barriers. So those categories would be ineligible just because of the work requirements. And those work requirements have been in place for SNAP. The bad thing is they have taken sort of all the worst things about SNAP and put them on Medicaid. So there are now provisions around the similar work requirements in Medicaid. And then they've taken the bad parts about Medicaid, which is a cost share to states, and put that onto SNAP. It is the cost share to states, honestly, to y'all, is the existential threat. We have won exemptions for ABOD requirements. Even recently, that exemption for homelessness was recently won in a budget negotiation a few years ago. That cost share to states is going to break states' budgets. And if that changes, that is the one. I don't know how we get that back in a future Congress, but just because the cost is so high. Once they change this, to change it back, you have to offset those costs with other things. It's terrible.
Yeah, thank you, Claire, so much. It sounds like that cost share to the state really could just result in those people losing benefits because the state can't afford it.
Yes.
Yeah. Allison, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for laying this out and for making, the very important point, Claire, that these are atrocious proposals that will basically not only cause massive hunger and instability, but also undermine the future of our federal nutrition and food programs. What I want to reinforce for everybody here is these are proposals. This is where we collectively come in to the action. So I want to just very briefly, because we have other things that we need to move on to, including another action that Hallie has lined up related to this, in addition to calling our senators and members of Congress, is I want to just ask those of you who are direct service providers, excuse me, who in whatever your role is, are connected to folks who use these programs in our communities. Do you feel that you know how to collect stories from people about the importance of these programs and how to share those stories? So let's just, you can put it in the chat, or you can just do thumbs up or thumbs down, or maybe sideways thumb, because one of the things that we want to try to figure out in partnership with the Anti-Hunger and Nutrition Coalition and others is, how do we best support you to gather these stories? So this is really the critical moment, and we have an opportunity here to explain, not just say it would be terrible to eliminate the exemption for people experiencing homelessness, but to explain what that would look like in a member of Congress's district. How many of you, let me try to rephrase the question so that you just have an easy response. How many of you would like more information about what it could look like for you to do this with the folks whom you work with? Just raise your hand, use the raised hand function, or you can actually raise your hand if you're on camera. Okay, so you guys are all equipped with that. Okay, thank you. I'm asking not really just as a as an exercise in can you find the right button on Zoom. It's really a question of us being able to figure out, how do we connect you with folks who can help you do a good job of gathering people's stories while protecting their privacy, if that is a consideration. So those of you who raised your hands, if you would be so kind as to put your contact information in the chat, we're going to connect you with Claire, but also follow up as we are going to need to be doing more and more of this. And we may do a special advocacy training that's related to sharing stories at the federal level. Okay, I think I got the "it is time to move on" high sign, but I am not the facilitator, so I'm just going to turn to you, Kevin. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
that's okay. Thank you, Allison. And yes, I mean, we do have to move forward, but there's a lot of great links in the chat, specifically about what we're just talking about. I'll just say a note to you all as service providers, organizations who are connected to service providers. You are really in a fantastic position to be able to share these stories and to be able to speak truth to power. This is, of course, outside of all the things that you already do every single day for work. But please, I'll just reiterate it one more time. This is not final. This is the moment for us to be able to advocate and speak to the damage that this will cause. I want to move forward with our agenda. I see a hand up, but I think that might have been back when Allison was asking for hands up. If I'm wrong,
That's right.
please, please message us in the chat. Hallie has also shared some federal or some other advocacy opportunities via link. So again, I'm just going to direct people back, take a moment to look through the chat and just take links that you can. And of course, if you have questions, please check in with us. We want to move forward with the next portion of our agenda and get a chance to meet some of our new coalition board members.
Right.
Allison, if you want to take the mic one more time and
Thank
introduce
you.
some of our folks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're very excited to be welcoming 6 people as new board members to join our existing board of directors. And I know several people are able to join today, so we're really happy for the opportunity for you to all meet them. I'm going to just invite all of you to turn your cameras on. And I know we have Abby Anderson, Carissa Johnson, Scott Starr, and possibly Modun Young will be joining. And Abby, I believe you have a time constraint, so I'm just going to invite you to unmute yourself first and say just a quick little hello, introduce yourself maybe a couple sentences about what's inspired you to come forward to provide the awesome service and responsibility of being a member of the board of directors. And then we'll go to Carissa and then Scott and Modu if he is able to join.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for letting me go
And
first as
we'd
well.
be comfortable with either Mithun or La Union.
Um, Hi everyone, my name's Abby. I use she or they pronouns, and yeah, I'm excited to be a new board member on the coalition's board. I know some of you from my work at the Regional Homelessness Authority, being a sub-regional planner there, and currently I am a grants manager at a nonprofit called Path with Art, which I hope a lot of you are also familiar with. And I wanted to join the coalition's board. I just, ever since working at KCRHA and even before then, once I learned about the coalition, has just always been a big fan of their work and supporter and volunteer. And so kind of jumped at the opportunity to play a bigger role and really to stay involved as much as I can with homelessness issues in Seattle and King County because it's a topic I'm really passionate about. So yeah, I appreciate all of you for being a part of the membership, and I'm looking forward to the first meeting and getting to know you all better. But thanks for the time today, and yeah, thanks for the work you do.
Thank you so much, Abby. And let's see, I see Modu just joined. So Modu, you're here at the right time. We're doing just very quick welcome and introductions. Carissa, would you be so kind as to unmute and just give folks a brief hello?
Sure. Hi. Thanks for inviting us so that we could be there. I know we haven't even had our first board meeting, but it was really good to be here. And I also just want to say thank you to the presenters because that was fantastic, if not horrifying information. So thank you for that. My name is Carissa Johnson. I currently am the program manager for community associations at the Habitat for Humanity Seattle, King, and Kittitas County affiliate. So obviously I am active in housing, just in a very interesting niche, farther along the pipeline than what we handle here. But I also do have a personal connection. I've been homeless multiple times within my life when I was younger and as a young mom. So I've kind of been in and around volunteering and working and advocating around those issues for a long time. What drew me here, how I found it, I honestly don't know. I think I just started following you guys on LinkedIn like years ago. And then just, kind of follow along and do things as I'm able. But I'm also really making a huge push here within Habitat to not only increase our homeowner education, but also our post-sale support. Because just because you got the keys to a house doesn't mean your life is fixed or that things don't come up. And then we are now facing a lot of issues that are going to happen to our buyers and our owners because of what is happening politically. We have a lot of people who are aging in place and are going to have severe cuts to their income. We have a lot of people who even immediately after were already caught up in the layoffs. So they were barely 6 months into their home and are now facing potentially losing that home because of these cuts. And also, I just think that Habitat could do a lot more in leveraging our advocacy groups and also our vast stores of corporate sponsors and volunteers out beyond just our doors. So that's kind of where the perspective I come from. I'm going to try not to talk too long. Thank you so much for inviting us. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all face to face and actually really getting to meet you. And I turned on my camera just for you, Allison.
Thank you, Carissa.
Getting here in my car.
Thank you so much. We're really excited to get to meet all. The board is coming together in person next Tuesday. So thank you so much for joining, bringing your passion and experience, and turning your camera on. Some of you have
off now, though.
Okay, you're good. Some of you had a chance to meet Scott Starr, who very kindly came in the May annual meeting and was able to introduce himself, but I'm going to invite him to, do so again and welcome you and thank you, Scott, and then Modu will come to you next.
Well, thanks, Allison, and thanks again. I'm going to echo what others have said. This has been a very eye-opening set of presentations so far. Not necessarily fun, but eye-opening. see, my name's Scott Starr. I am a architect at SMR Architects. Let's see, SMR Architects, I've been working here for about, I don't know, 22 years. And we're a firm that specializes in affordable housing for housing nonprofit organizations. We've worked with organizations like DESC, Plymouth Housing, Compass Housing, YWCA, and housing authorities to design and build low-income housing across the Washington state. So, and I honestly, like, our firm is very mission oriented, and I became aware of the coalition when we would go to events like the One Night Count or things like going to the city of Seattle or the state for advocacy, and we'd always see the Coalition on Homelessness there creating a ruckus, which I admired. So that's how I became aware, and that's why I kind of wanted to become involved, is because I think that you guys are great at raising awareness and creating a ruckus and advocating. So
Thank you.
Thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's wonderful to have board members who recognize that creating a ruckus and being good advocates is the mission. And I'm thrilled to see that, in addition, Diana Pierce was able to join us. So after we invite Modu to introduce himself, we'll go to you, Diana. Welcome, Modu. Thank you so much for joining. We're just inviting you and other new board members to do a brief little introduction of yourself to our general membership.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Allison. Good morning. Thank you all for having us today in community with you all. As Allison said, my name is Modu. I currently served the community at Friends of Youth, where I am the Senior Director for the Homeless Youth Services. And my background is in urban planning and public policy. I have been around the coalition for a while now. In both previous engagements, either in Seattle with Friends with Youth Care, or in my time serving the King County Regional Homeless Authority. And then I'm familiar with the collective effort that the coalition have championed in the policy, and also in ensuring that represent the needs of the community. So looking forward to continuing that collective community organizing and community collaborative approach to the work we do, and then being involved in that space. And along, somebody just said about the relief experience. And I think there's one thing common with the immigrant community is when you come in, most of us do experience housing instability before you finally get that stability. And sometimes it could manifest in just staying with friends and families until you figure it out. Or sometimes it's just like, figuring it out as it goes. And then that's a relief experience that also have shaped my career. So thank you all for having me, and I look forward to getting to know each of you, and then, collectively working alongside all of you so we can push in the work. I think it's not about, is it needed? It's more of like, what can we do? And making sure that we do something and just don't sit aside. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to have you here, Modu. And Diana Pierce, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you don't know Diana, you will quickly recognize that she has the largest and most fashionable hat collection of anyone you will ever meet. Thank you so much. Please feel welcome to introduce yourself.
Thank you. I'm retired. I was on the faculty at the School of Social Work, and I've worked on poverty and housing issues for a long time, starting with housing discrimination was the subject of my PhD thesis. And also particular pieces of it, such as having foster children who struggle when they go off of foster care. I'm very interested in, particularly in women's issues, the feminization of poverty, but long admired this and doing this a little bit in honor of Nancy Amadei, a good friend of mine. And anything else you want to know?
No, I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Diana. I think many people at the coalition are familiar. Claire Lane certainly knew and worked with Nancy Amadei, who was a treasure and a colleague and a friend and a mentor and a teacher to thousands and thousands of people. And Diana, that's just about the most beautiful way.
I should add that I also started and directed a center that calculates the self-sufficiency standards. Some of you may use that in your work, which is an alternative measure of not having enough to meet your basic needs, being in poverty, that's used in 40-some states now.
Thank you. It's really a wonderful, wonderful group of people who are bringing their passion, experience, skills, knowledge, and direction to the coalition's board of directors. And we have one other person not able to join today, Catherine Ravello. So thank you all so much. This is, a truly heart-filling part of the work. You all understand we need each other. We need our allies. We need our colleagues. We need our family and friends more than ever, because most of what we hold dear is under assault. And we knew that we had a little bit of buffer in our agenda today. And Kevin, Danielle, Hallie, and I thought that probably what we would be best advised to do is, first of all, acknowledge that you may need 9 minutes to yourself. So if you need to leave the meeting now, we are closing the meeting officially. You are welcome to go do whatever you are called to do. But we thought we would just take a little bit of time to open this up for people, particularly those who have direct experience of housing and homelessness, for those who are direct service providers, to just share with us what's on your hearts and in your minds, and really recognize this as a solidarity space. We know that there are huge demonstrations, over 1,600 planned No Kings demonstrations across this country on Saturday. Those who can participate safely, we hope you will. And we also know that not everybody is in a position to do that. So, I think we need to actually end the recording. And thank you so much, Kevin. So I'm going to just ask somebody if you'd be so kind as to end the recording, and then we're just going to open things up a little bit.